Hey retailers, welcome to this week's workshop. And today we're going to be talking about average dollar sale and how it's a useful metric for you to be focusing on within your bricks and mortar store. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, average dollar sale is hopefully you all know is the average sale per customer that you experience or that you have within your store. So out of all the customers that come through, what are you selling to them? This is a really, really good metric to track within your store. It's one of the easiest ways to improve your profitability, improve your cash flow. But I'm jumping ahead again. So there is a worksheet as always. And if you want a copy of the worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below. This is a smaller adapted presentation of the longer version, which I use with my paid clients. So I won't go through everything in this presentation. I'll just go through the basics and leave you with enough so that you can start to implement this within your store. Yeah, I think that's about it. So let's just roll with it. So average dollar sales. So, there are a couple of really big problems or major mistakes that bricks and mortar retailers make, apart from the fact of not really knowing what their average dollar sale is in their store, and this happens. But basically, the big mistake that we make is we don't present our customers with opportunities for upselling and cross-selling, nor do we present our team members the opportunity to do so. And this leads to obviously lost sales. We also don't have consistent pricing strategies in our store as a result of not understanding what our average dollar sale is. Then, we make mistakes when it comes to staff training, like not having enough of it. And all of these issues stem from the same old reasons why we are so busy running around like a headless chook within our bricks and mortar retail stores. We've got so many things going on, and perhaps some of us may not have the understanding or the knowledge that we need to work on our average dollar sale. Not only that, we have limited resources and budgets, or we're just simply focusing on the short-term gains. And one of the other causes I see from working with clients is like many of us are resistant to change. And this change that we need to implement usually results from the fact that we're not used to making decision. We're not used to making data decision outcomes. So we're not used to using data to help us drive our business. And this is a common thing that happens for all bricks and mortar retailers, right? So, well, for most of us. So if we get this right, average dollar sale is one of those techniques where, like I mentioned, you can increase your cash flow significantly. You can increase your profitability significantly without spending any money on marketing. Excuse me. It's a great way to get your team involved because your team is going to be involved in driving your average dollar sale up. And it's also a great way to increase the value of your business because you're going to be driving your profitability up, even if you don't want to be or you're not considering selling your business. But you can see some of the other trainings that I have spoken about at length and why it's important to strive for greater profitability within your store. But the main thing with this one is it's if you've got a limited budget or you're not sure on marketing or you're not doing your marketing properly, working on your average dollar sale in the cycles that I'm going to be talking about is a great way to increase your revenue profitability within your store. And there's a few key steps that you need to implement within your business to be able to do this correctly and to be doing it consistently. So here is what you need to do. So the first thing is to find out what it is. And a lot of people still don't know what it is. I would encourage you to run your point of sale report and find out exactly what it is. Most point of sale providers can do this for you. If, for instance, you're using a point of sale provider that does not, please give them a call, get them to do a software update. You can work it out manually, but hopefully if you're watching this, you have a point of sale system that can give you what that figure is because you want to be able to track this weekly, I've spoken at length about how you can use KPIs to drive your business. This is one of the most important KPIs, which is your average dollar sale. So we need to be able to extract the data very, very easily. And we want to make sure that we can get it from our point of sale system. So we need to find out what it is, run those POS reports. There are so many different strategies that you can use to increase your average dollar sale. I'm going to talk about a few of them, but what I know from working with clients, and in fact, with me, what I did as well, is you can get to a stage of analysis paralysis because there are so many different strategies that you can employ to increase your average dollar sale. Where I see most retailers coming unstuck is one, choosing which ones to do, which strategies to employ within the business, and also giving it enough time for it to work. That's a really, really big mistake. We tend to implement things very quickly, if we do implement them at all, and we expect results straight away. So the big mistake is that either we don't choose any strategies, or we choose one and we expect quick results, or we choose a strategy, or we choose too many strategies and don't give them enough time to bear fruit within our business. So 3 is the magic number that I usually work with my clients on doing. So you need to pick 3 strategies that that you can use that aligns with your store, aligns with your personality, aligns with where you're at within the business. How do you choose those 3? Well, that's why you work with a business coach like me that can help you go through that process to figure out what strategies you need to use. So, and then, like I mentioned, we need to implement it for 8 to 12 weeks. It does seem like a long time. And I write down 8 to 12 weeks. Everybody freaks out when I say that. But when it comes to implementing any strategy, really, but especially strategies to increase our average dollar sale, there's a whole heap of work that needs to go before we get into it. There's a whole heap of prep work that we need to do, like pulling these reports, figuring out what the strategy is going to be, which is one of them. And then how are we going to implement this strategy? And then how are we going to monitor the strategy? There's a whole little bit of steps that we need to do. And I'll talk about that in a few moments. So it's really important that we give it enough time to implement within our business. Otherwise, we're not really going to be knowing what exactly is working. And like I mentioned, this is a big mistake that we make as bricks and mortar retailers, is not giving a strategy sufficient time. And in this case, it's the strategy that you're going to pick, implement, track, measure within your bricks and mortar retail store. So tracking and measuring is so important, because if you're not tracking and measuring, how do you know what is working? How do you know? I mean, sure, you've got it in your head, but what I really encourage everybody to do is to track and measure, have some sort of system in place. You can refer to some of my KPI dashboards where we track and measure. You can implement something like that. But really, it's something that you need to be taking note of, making sure that you're comparing it to the previous week, making sure that you're understanding the strategies that you're using to drive that up, and you're understanding what's being changed in the metrics. So it's really important that we do that. Unfortunately, as bricks and mortar retailers, many of us don't do that. We haven't been taught how to do that, or we haven't really got the time to do it. But it is so important that we have a system in place to track and measure what we are doing. It's no good keeping it up in our heads. That is the worst way to do it, because what you want to do is have tangible data so you can base your information and your decisions on. If it's all up in your head, you're just relying on memory. And also, later on down the track, we want to make sure that we set up the right systems, so that when we remove ourselves from the day-to-day, this whole tracking and measuring of our average dollar sale or other things that we implement within our store for growth are tracked and measured by other people. So we want to make sure that the system's set up. And the best way to do that is by doing it yourself and creating a system to track and measure. So that is what we are going to do. So like I mentioned, there are so many ways that you can start to increase your average dollar sale. As I mentioned, it is either we choose too many or too little, we get analysis paralysis, or we just get too scattered in our approach. I'm going to run through very, very briefly some strategies for you right now, and then you can go away and implement these in your store. As always, if you want some help, make sure you reach out with it. Reach out to me, and then I can help you with this stuff within your bricks and mortar store. But certainly, what you're and remember, this is in the worksheet. So if you want a copy of the worksheet, just write the word worksheet below. We'll get it out to you. Okay, so let me run through some very, very quick strategies on how to increase your average dollar sales. So the first one is upselling. I think we all know this. However, very few of us have a system of implementing it in store. Like, how do you upsell? The other mistake that we make as bricks and mortar retailers is we just assume our team members know how to upsell. But really, upselling is an art. There's a whole process that your team member needs to go through, not only with themselves, but with your clients and customers in store, to get to that comfortable place of upselling. So, of course, we have some natural salespeople within our teams, but really, this technique of upselling is something you need to develop with your team. And just on a very, very high level, to do that, you need to make sure that you're implementing the technique of upselling and incorporating that as part of your team trainings. Hopefully, you're doing your team trainings every week. And so upselling is such a great strategy once you implement it within your store. The same goes with cross-selling. So this not obviously, but this stems from the fact that we really want to make sure that we provide our customers with the complete solution to the problems they come into our store to solve. So we want to really make sure that we're all on top of cross-selling. And there's a bit of work there as well, right? So your team need to know what to cross-sell. That means that you and your management team have to work it out beforehand. And you want to make it very easy for your team members to know how to cross-sell. And that does come from team training. Also, if you are merchandising effectively within your store, it makes it so much easier for your team members to cross-sell as well. So this is all part of the training process that you need to incorporate within your store so that you can start to increase your average dollar sales. So cross-selling, super important. And these are the basic things that I'm going to run through that you need to implement. The next thing, I spoke about merchandising and product displays. I know that we do not, as bricks and mortar retailers, pay enough attention to product displays. We have such an edge compared to our e-commerce cousins when it comes to merchandising and product displays. People still are coming into our stores. People still want to come into our stores, and having great displays is so important. So making sure that you have a process in place on what constitutes great displays within your bricks and mortar store, and you've got systems in place to track and measure. Of course, that you've also looking at different ways that you can product merchandise within your store. So product displays, so easy. You'll see, and so effective. You'll see some of the large big box retailers doing this very, very well. Some niche retailers do this very well. Louis Vuitton immediately comes to mind. They offer this solution selling approach when you walk into their stores. So you can adapt some of those strategies for your business. So product displays, done. The next thing is bundled packages. These are great things, great strategies to implement. We are so fortunate that in retail, well, in actually every business, there's quite a lot of seasonal components. And we can always, one of the quick win strategies is to bundle products and services together, make it really easy to solve your clients' problems. You raise your basket size up because you package it together, your average dollar sale goes up, you're offering perhaps a really slight discount. But what you need to do is make sure that you understand for yourself the value proposition that you're providing to your customer when you're bundling things up together. Of course, there's a process involved in bundling. You just can't bundle everything together. And hopefully now you can see there's a little bit of work that you need to put into beforehand before you start bundling up products and services within your store to increase your average dollar sale. The next thing is your loyalty program. Hopefully by now you've really understood how powerful your loyalty program is. There is a stat, I can't remember off the top of my head, but your loyalty program, members of your loyalty program and those that are loyal to your bricks and mortar retail business are going to spend far much more money than your regular people that walk in. So that whole nature of one, signing them up to your loyalty program, hopefully your team are all doing that at the register. And then from there, there's that whole nurture sequence that needs to occur as well as part of your loyalty program, and then making sure that you're communicating that with them regularly as well. So loyalty program is such a big thing, underutilized by many retailers. Still, there's a little bit of stigma attached that, oh, there are so many different loyalty programs. People are sick of being asked. Well, going to McDonald's, see how many times they ask you, would you like fries with that? You need to be asking every single customer, can I swipe your loyalty card? And if they don't have a loyalty card, can I give me your email, give me your phone number, I'll add you in. You want to make sure that your team are trained on doing that. But anyway, talking too long about that. So making sure that you've got your loyalty program all set up, because that's a surefire, easy peasy way to increase your average dollar sale. Okay, so what I've got here is just a little worksheet that I work through my clients with. I'm not really going to go into it too much, but basically, out of all the strategies that we've got here, we really need to pick one and then figure out how we're going to implement it within our store. I mean, this is the biggest stumbling block for retailers and for most business owners. I mean, there are techniques, strategies everywhere. You can Google it all over the internet, there for you to see and figure out what it is and know what it is. But where we get unstuck, where we get into trouble as retailers is implementation into our stores. And so that's what that worksheet is. It's basically a step-by-step process on how you can implement this particular strategy within your bricks and mortar retail business. So important. All right. So in summary, to make sure that we are really working and understanding our average dollar sale in our business, that hopefully we really can see now it's a quick way to increase cash in your business. Certainly if you're experiencing a cash flow crunch, or if your profitability is a little bit funny, or if you're just looking to drive sales and drive your revenue up, using this strategy is imperative and increasing your cash amounts really quickly. If you're not doing this, and many of us, if you're not focusing on it, you're leaving money on the table and you're not really serving your customers properly. You're not really solving their problems by implementing these strategies, because they're just coming in and you're letting them leave with just one product or service. And how many things, very few things can be solved with just one product or service. And the key takeaway here is to make sure that we are always analyzing and we are always tracking and measuring what's going on within our business. This is such a big stumbling block. Analysis of numbers or analysis of anything that happens in our store. Very few of us know how to do that, and who can blame us? But making sure that you get some help with that and try and figure it out for yourself. And of course, the final thing is there is no use doing all this stuff without taking action. So you need to make sure that you start to implement all of these things in your business. And implementation and taking action is the hardest thing. It's our biggest stumbling block as retail. It's one of our biggest stumbling blocks. Cool. All right. That is the end of it. I trust you found that useful. If you want a copy of the worksheet, just pop the word worksheet below. And until the next training, much love, and we shall see you again.